Everyone, my name is Anya Merrifield and I work for Greater AKL, which is the innovation precinct here in Auckland. And I work every day with a whole bunch of really, really talented folks creating awesome digital startups. And I've also been lucky enough to work for startups myself and even run my own little business for a while. So I'm really interested in helping people succeed with great ideas, and even more interested in when those ideas can create more opportunity and more diversity in the technology ecosystem. That's something I'm personally incredibly passionate about. I'm going to run through some basics on how to identify a problem and how to curate a solution today. If you have any questions, fire them through and I'll try to answer them at the end. If you're watching after the live cast or you think of a question later, flick it through to info@digmyidea.nz and myself or the team from Dig My Idea will try and answer this for you in a really timely fashion as well if we can. I'm also going to send through a list of resources that might help some of you. So if you flick an email to the Dig My Idea crew, I'm pretty sure that they'll be able to flick those resources through to you as well. Now I guess I'm going to run through the real basics of how to identify a problem. And if you look at any interview with a startup doing really well, or a venture capitalist who is famed for helping grow businesses, or frankly anyone who has been around the startup ecosystem for any extended period of time, one of the first things they say is the key is identifying a need. So much of what we do in day-to-day life is active problem solving, and crafting a strong business or startup idea is really no different. So how do you identify a problem worth solving? It's a really tricky question. Trying to identify a problem or something that's worth solving digitally and need, you can look at really big problems and big solutions, or smaller, kind of more consumer-driven problems. And today I'm going to look at some of those small problems because they're easier to kind of break down. Now, you might not know the name Alex Ohanian, but you'll probably more than likely know the brand he co-founded. So Alex is one of the guys behind Reddit, which, depending on who you talk to, is the bastion of freedom or a blight on the internet. So it's a very contentious brand. Whatever side you choose, there is no contention about the fact that Reddit itself has been very successful at building a ubiquitous brand and business on the internet. Now, when asked to identify a problem with solving, or how to find that problem, Alex suggests a pretty lo-fi response, which is one that we hear a lot in the startup community. He says, "You've undoubtedly encountered products or services that have frustrated you. Keep a notepad or a tablet handy and write down whatever is upsetting you. There's a good chance you'll find a business in those notes." When you look at the market, there are examples of this everywhere. So Airbnb got its start because the founders needed to pay their rent and realized that there are a lot of people out there who would actually pay to rent their unused space. And Instagram founders wanted to make photography easier to share, as Shack and Flickr, who were industry leaders at the time, were way too complex to use on a mobile device. Closer to home, Greater Auckland residents weirdly have kind of seen that the recruitment model was broken after working in that industry, and saw that they actually needed to work on different parts within the recruitment industry, mainly around culture fit, because it was becoming a really massive tactical shift for the industry. And they were like, okay, maybe we can make a tool that actually makes that easier. And it's quite a simple idea that they've created into this massive platform. And Claudium, again, Greater Auckland residents, saw that there are issues with businesses' ability to actually have really resilient health and safety plans. So they created this app, Bluter, and it's basically a safety tool that makes it really easy. Now, if this process of creating like a little area to identify a need is new to you, you should think about the apps, websites, services, and digital products you use every day, and think about the problems that they solve. Look up their founding stories on the internet and interviews with their founders. You'll be surprised how much insight you can actually get out of that process. So I'm going to talk about how you can kind of find a little problem to solve. So first you want to start with a question. You want to write a list of things that you personally find really annoying or frustrating. These may be issues that you have with online services, or something that you've searched for before and just not found. You may find that these problems you identify fall into some quite regular categories. So it might be a tool or an addition to an existing product that will make it better or less annoying. It could be a fresh new idea that could seem a little crazy in the beginning. That's kind of how crowdfunding started. Or a product that is in the market already, but not in your area of concern, or maybe not in your country or your region. Or maybe it needs a little shift so it can get to that target market that you're after. You also want to ask. So you want to sit down and have a chat with people you know, people that the people you know, friends, aunties, uncles, teachers, co-workers, bosses, and pen pals. Ask them about the issues that they have found. So you want to ask about the problems that they have with services that they use, or times they've looked at a situation and said, oh, I wish this thing did this. Questions that you ask these people can be really free and broad, a bit of like a sounding board for issues they may have. Like, tell me about a problem you've faced in the last week when you've been online, for example. Or they can be around a problem you have personally identified. So, I online shop. Do you online shop? What do you find tricky about shopping online? When someone identifies a problem, try and drill down to as much detail as humanly possible. For example, if they love shopping online, but they have to send back so much of what they buy, ask them why that is. Is it because the clothes they purchase do not fit? Is it because the colour is always wrong? Or do they not really understand how the fabrics work? Get as much detail about the problem as humanly possible. When you talk to these people, ask them if they would pay for a solution to their problem, and if so, how much? If they say yes, it might be something worth investigating. And knowing a ballpark figure will allow you to see if it's something that you can make money out of. And even if you're thinking of like a social enterprise or like a not-for-profit, having the idea of how much a customer or consumer or end user will pay will also allow you to see where you can cover costs or how much outside sponsorship you need to actually do what you need to do. Also, don't forget to ask them if you can take their details so they can help you test your solution when you craft it. It's a really good thing because you're going to need beta testers later on. The next step is to compile. So we've asked a question to ourselves, we've asked it to the people around us, so now we want to compile all the information down. So see where there is any crossover in your problems and the problems of those around you. Are there entire areas where you can see a gap? Are there singular issues that multiple people have had? Identify what these are and compile those together. Where there are commonalities, flesh out those territories as spaces where you can provide a service or product or offer. So you want to see what's in common. So if 7 people have told you the exact same issue that they've had, that's one that you have as well, it's probably worth investigating a little bit more and use some of that drill down content to really get into the crux of the issue. It's a really good idea. So we've asked ourselves a question, we've asked other people around us a question, we've compiled information, now we're going to refine. So from that process that you've just done with the compilation, define a singular area of interest and really hone into it and try and find that singular problem to solve. You might have an inkling of a way to do it now, and that's great, but you also might not, and that's fine too. So note down any insights you may have or any inklings about how you may solve it, even if it's like a random thing or it's like a flash of inspiration or something you're not even entirely sure is technically possible, put it down on paper. So some of these solutions can be really simple, or they can come from these cruxes of problems that a lot of people face, but you probably don't even think about it. So for example, a startup that we know at Grid saw that people often use PDFs to send out contracts, set up forms or important documents, but found that editing these was incredibly hard unless you had really expensive software or special skills. As a result, these people would often have to print out a PDF, sign it, fill it in, and then have to scan it and then email it through to someone, which is like a process that would take forever. And if you're in filing or admin or you're doing a lot of stuff with contracts, that time will add up and it's just very, very annoying. So they kind of thought to themselves, hey, wouldn't it be great if everyone could edit a PDF really simply? Maybe make it online so you could send a link to someone and they could do it really easily, and then you could download it and it'd be great and done. And that's how they framed their startup. Now today they actually are a much bigger business. It's all about allowing anyone to edit files on any browser easily, but that simple crux of an idea actually really pushed them into the next stage. So even if your issue is like simple or slightly unsexy or something that you're not even sure how to do, like really hone down into it anyway, and then we can address how to find someone technical to help you out at a later point. So once you've really refined your question, you want to question your question. So once you've identified that one area, that one issue, go out again and talk to people that you think might face that problem and see if this is an actual problem. So here you can talk to people that you know again, but it's also a good idea to get on the phone and call some businesses, make some cold calls, send a few emails out to people and say, look, you know, I don't know about you, but I've been facing this particular issue. And I've seen that other people have been facing it too. And I'm just wondering if it's something that you've been coming across and how how would you like if I solved the issue for you? And then I'll, see how much they're going to pay for it. If you have an inkling of how you're actually going to solve that problem at this stage, that's great. Talk through the bare bones of the solution in like a hypothetical kind of way, and then get their feedback on the solution. Would it work for them? Do they think? Why or why not? Take these people's details as well and keep them somewhere safe, because you're going to need them later on for your validation. So now you've gone through this kind of scale of asking yourself if you've got a problem, asking the people around you if they have a problem too, taking all the information and really drilling down into one area. And you've also now extrapolated that out into like a kind of solid business premise. And now you've actually gone out to other people and said, hey, you're having this issue as well. How much would you pay for me to actually solve it for you? Now you actually really need to think about crafting the solution. So now when you're crafting the solution, you want to take into account any and all insights you've gathered along the way. You may want to sit down with a big piece of paper and frame up some hypothetical ways to solve the problem and see where the insights and comments and feedbacks you've received so far actually can kind of help fine-tune the solution. Or you may have a ballpark idea already that could solve the problem, and you can use this time to flesh out that idea. Now, if you have an idea or a solution you think might work, but not a huge amount of technical nous, so you don't have a background as a coder or a UX person, now's the time to try and find someone that can help your digital solution actually come to life. And we get this question a lot when we're dealing with startups. How do you find your technical co-founder? And one of the easiest ways you can is if you have any events in your city that you're living in, meetups around technical issues, developer meetups. If you have like a little network, or if there's like a kind of a coffee or a breakfast session at a local university, then that's all good things that you should be going to. And going to those with an open mind and the ability to network a little bit and talk to people around you is a really good idea. Even if they don't actually have the skills to help you with your problem, they'll more than likely be able to connect you with someone that can. And so it's a really good step to take. You have to really just get out and about, go to meetups, jump on message boards, chat to people on Twitter, and get your message out there. And you'll find also that the more you explain the problem that you're trying to solve, the more that you explain your idea, the more solid and reasonable it will become in your head, and the better and more practical an idea and solution it will become. So, that's a really good reason why you do this as well. So you think you have a solution? Now what do you do? Okay, so you have a solution. Now you go back to all those people that you talked to previously, the ones you got the details for in the beginning and through the second stage. You go back and you tell them about your solution. If you don't want to give away your special sauce, which is the thing that makes your product really great, so to speak, keep it really broad, but explain the high level of the problem again, and a quick rundown of what your product, platform, idea, app, or connection tool will do. Here, gather any feedback they have at all, and ask them how much they would pay for a solution, and then ask them if you can actually sign them up to be beta testers right then and there. And maybe even if you think you can kind of turn this around really quickly, ask them that if you really enjoy the product, that you'd give me an endorsement that I can put on my website. Try not to give those beta tests away completely for free. You want either really great feedback from them and a really good understanding of how you're going to collect that feedback, or an endorsement if they really like the product. Things to remember. So my idea team and judges are looking for ideas around social connections, or an economic solution that creates jobs and equity for Māori in general, or for wider New Zealand as well. And you really want whatever problem you identify to be solved or helped through digital tool execution. So those are things you need to keep in mind when you're actually going through this process as well. Extra for experts. I know it's getting on in the competition, and some of you might be going, how do I get this all done in the small amount of time that I have left? I want to say, firstly, it's really possible. Totally is possible. So in New Zealand and around the world, we have a thing called Startup Weekend, which has been a whole bunch of strangers go into a weekend they haven't met anyone before. Some of them have problems. Some of them have problems that they think are problems, but then when they get through their validation process, they realize it's not actually a problem at all. And they build a business over a weekend. So you've got more than a weekend now. So you've got about 10 days. And so you do actually have time to actually go through that and make it possible. Now, you may have already done some legwork on some things, and that's really, really great. If you have fleshed out some of your idea already, it's a good idea to go through the process anyway. So identify if that how that problem affects you, identify how it affects those around you, then really drill down into that information, then kind of craft what that singular problem is, then go out and talk to other people that aren't involved with the previous conversations, and then start crafting a solution from that. And if you have to, then work backwards and make sure you're doing those validation steps, because they'll be really useful later on. And you'll see that this process will also help you identify other stuff that's really important for the application process. So you'll see in the Dig My Idea application form that you need to know who your market is, and this is a process that's really great for establishing that as well. Now, I'm also going to collate a list of resources that can be sent out to you guys. It goes over some of the stuff I've actually talked about today, but a really good place for you to get information is a startup methodology called the Lean Startup. Lean sets out some really clever, easy to navigate steps on crafting a great startup that is validated every step of the way. It's an awesome tool, and although quite a lot more in depth than what I've suggested here, it's a great way to frame up ideas, businesses, not-for-profit or otherwise. I'm also here to answer questions if you have them. And if I can't answer them now, it's been a rather long day, I'll try and answer them as soon as I can. Email any questions through to info@digmyidea.nz, and don't forget to use the resources already online at digmyidea.nz. Entries close on the 18th of October, and I know the entire Dig My Idea team is so excited to see your entries come in, so do get involved. Good luck from myself and the team from Good AKL and Dig My Idea. Thanks.